Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm hanging out with Theo Thorson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me today. I love, by the way, your green room here that you provided, that fruit basket. The
Nice.
mariachi band was a nice touch. I've never had that before. It's just a VIP treatment all around. I love it.
I mean, it's all green room, green screen, but you know.
Right? No, but it felt real. And that fruit in my mind was amazing.
So you run a channel called Gallant Goblin. You want to kind of like introduce people to yourself and kind of what you do?
Sure. Well, yeah, my name is Theo, and gosh, how to even start? We run a network. I guess it's a network now in a way called the Gallant Goblin, where it's me and my boyfriend Grady. We're the only two doing this, and we started off wanting to just make some good videos to showcase a lot of the accessories that folks have out there for D&D, Pathfinder, and other games. Because there's all the minis, there's the terrain, and there's everything else that you can buy. But when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to spend our money on, there weren't a lot of good like videos on YouTube to show us what these things were. It was mostly people just grabbing minis and just unboxing them in an hour-long video and holding them up and hoping that the thing would focus on them. And it was just painful to watch to try to get anything useful out of it. So we said, let's make high-quality videos that are as short as we could possibly make them, so people don't sit there and watch us tear out boxes for an hour. And then also, a lot of the stuff that you get from like WizKids and companies like that are like random booster boxes. So folks end up with minis that they may not know what to do with. So we thought, okay, as we're showing the minis, let's also tell folks a little bit about the history, the lore behind these little creatures. So if they get some random minis, they might know how to use them and
Hmm.
maybe give them some story hooks. This kind of maybe inspire some ideas on how to use the minis they have. And so that's kind of where it all began. Since then, we've kind of expanded because Grady especially is he's very creative as a writer, and so we wanted to kind of create our own content. And so we've put out a couple like supplements on DM's Guild. He loves the Magic the Gathering setting, so he did this little book for Theros of magic items called The Great Merchant of Asphodel. And so we've been kind of expanding, doing things like that, and starting to get into live plays now, and just having a good time of it.
That is awesome. And also I'm really intrigued by the idea and like the idea of not only are you like kind of reviewing the stuff and showing it off, but like, explaining how it could be useful in their game, even though maybe they didn't think it was like one of the TikTokers I follow. She's been looking for the fire elemental mini forever. Like I think there's like a 7-part series, and it's like not until like the 7th one that they finally open a box that has the fire mini, fire elemental
Yeah.
mini.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, booster packs.
And we're trying to get things put together. We want to have a good website where people can find the minis that they're looking for and like what's the best way to get it. Because like these days, fire elementals, there's a couple of ways to get them. And so like
Yeah.
let's help people find the things they want. And we just want to make so people can spend their money, because these things are expensive too. Like make sure they get what they pay for, they're happy with what they spend their money on. And yeah, that's what we're out there to do.
What are your favorite things to kind of review and unbox?
Oh my gosh. I do love when we have these new booster sets from WizKids for Pathfinder, D&D, and Starfinder now, because I try not to look ahead of time, and I just
Yeah.
kind of go through them as we get them, and I get to research all the minis and learn the lore behind creatures that maybe I've never heard of before. Because I've only been in the hobby for 3 or 4 years now, so I came in with 5th edition, and so all these creatures that come back from 1st and 2nd edition, I'm not so familiar with, and so I learned about the Verbeegs recently because they had a mini of that in the new Snowbound set, and that's like a 2nd edition giant kin that I
Yeah.
had never heard of before. And so, I'm introduced to these things that maybe you all have known for a very long time. And so, yeah, just getting these new minis and learning about their history and all the creative energy that's been put into these games over the decades. There's so much amazing things out there that we can kind of churn back up and bring back to folks these days is kind of amazing. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
And I mean, also too, though, sometimes give you a little odd because like things change a lot. Like the Furbolg is
Yeah.
way different than when it was first introduced.
Hmm.
And now this kind of this like happy wilderness kind of dopey giant
Cow.
kin creature, right? And before it wasn't. They were like forest Vikings that were giants.
Yeah, these things evolve. I was looking at
Yeah.
kobolds because we love our kobolds. We're making even little plushies of kobolds now,
Oh,
and
nice.
we were looking at the kobolds, and apparently kobolds started, I guess, before D&D officially. Like they were a part of Gygax's like supplement for some other game, and he just described them as like goblin-like creatures, and that was the extent of it, if I remember correctly. And so, like, yeah, a lot of these have evolved a lot over time.
The kobold originally was a combination of lizard, chihuahua, and rat.
Yeah.
Humanoid, right? And I actually miss them.
Yeah, they it's interesting to see how these changes kind of come about and just evolve. And I wish I'd kind of been here for the whole story of it, but I'm sure we'll enjoy it for 6th, 7th, and 8th editions as we go forward.
Yeah. Well, you also can't really affect when you're born either. But if you do figure out that part, man, let me know.
Well, I mean, I just it feels like a lot of folks were introduced to D&D by maybe like older siblings or like just having some friend when they were growing up who was into the hobby. And I just didn't have the luck to have a friend who was into the hobby. I had a few friends into Magic the Gathering, and that was about the extent of it. And so I didn't get introduced to it. And I didn't find it on my own. We didn't have things like Critical Role or YouTube or anything to show us things. And so I just never stumbled on it.
Well, in the beginning, there was no internet. So like literally, you literally had to like you said, just find someone that was already playing. And you know, and that's how, and that there wasn't even game stores. Like that wasn't really a thing in the earlier. And if they were, they were very far and few between. Like I used to get all my gaming stuff at Walden Books and B. Dalton, and like I say that most of the audience that I say that to nowadays, they don't even know what I'm talking about.
I've been to Walden Books. I used to love going to Walden Books.
Like that was my jam. Like my grandparents would take me to the mall when I was a kid, and I would go to both of them. They generally had all the same books anyway, but you know, I would spend an hour in each of them just looking at things until my grandparents would buy me something so we could leave.
Yep, I would bounce between Walden Books and like the electronic boutique to go play Oregon Trail or something.
Yeah,
that was my bag when I went to the mall. I still remember where they are in the Tallahassee Mall where I grew up, so I can still walk to those stores, and I'm sure it's just a makeup store now, but I have my memories.
Yeah, I was so growing up in New Jersey, like I was like in spitting distance of I want to say like 5 malls. Like, and if I wanted to go even further, there were even more. So like we were like inundated, and they are all kind of the same. They had all the same stores. Yeah. So it didn't really matter. Also, folks, anyone who is interested, as always, the links are down in the description, so you can check out Theo across the interwebs. Please do.
We're everywhere now.
Yeah.
Which keeping up with everything is a job. You know, trying to watch Instagram and TikTok and everything else is like, wow. I need to figure out this whole intern thing. That would be nice.
Yeah, I need interns.
Anybody wants to apply to be my intern? Let me know. Give me a DM. We have nice green screen benefits too. I don't know.
So, I was advised by an attorney. They're unpaid volunteers.
Unpaid volunteers. Yeah, we don't offer school credit.
Intern implies something completely different.
That's true.
That you can be sued for.
We'll be careful of that one then. Yeah, unpaid volunteers.
Yeah. We actually did have an official intern, and like so, intern Jake was awesome, and he was about to get out of the military, and he thought he might want to do some stuff, either in the D&D sphere or YouTube sphere, and he spent like 6 months to a year figuring it out. And we had to go through so many different like programs and hoops and jump through. And so for 3 months, we had intern Jake, the highest paid member of Nerdarchy, because he was like an Air Force traffic controller, and he was still being paid by the military for that while working for us. So he probably made at least double what any of us made.
The way we do things, I'm sure that exact same thing would happen to us.
Yeah.
We would feel guilty about giving them work, and then so give them very little to do, and then pay them a ton to do it. That's what.
No. We didn't have to pay them, so that was the good part. Uncle Sam did it.
That's good, as long as they're getting something for it, I guess.
Yeah. So, how long have you been doing the Gallant Goblin?
I just was looking at that. I think it's we started in 2018. I think around in April. So we're just over 3 years now. We've put out 309, I think, YouTube videos
Nice.
as of today, and yeah, and we've just kind of branched out. Now we're trying to do interviews like this a little bit too. One of the things I think that we've kind of really gotten excited about is we've kind of gotten into the writing of adventures and writing of supplements, and we find that really interesting. And we also have talked to a lot of folks who are having a hard time getting started, like knowing, like feeling that they are able to do something like that. Because I never thought I was a very creative person, that I would be able to write anything. But I had some folks in the community that really support me as I was trying to write my first adventure. And I eventually did it, and it was great, and I loved it. And so we're trying to help other folks do that too. So we're trying to bring folks onto the channel to kind of give help to give advice to writers and artists who are trying to get started in their journey, creative journey. We're also supporting Ashley Warren's RPG Writer Workshop, if you're familiar with that, where they help people write their first adventure for D&D, for Call of Cthulhu, and other games. And that's coming up real soon here too, if it hasn't started already. I don't think it started just yet. But that's another great thing that I did to write my first adventure. They have classes on everything from brainstorming to layout to writing the adventure to publishing it at the end. And so there's a lot of good resources out there for folks who are interested in getting started in that. And we're trying to push that out there too.
What do you think the biggest like stumbling block is for people to get started?
For me, at least, it was just not thinking I could do it. Like, didn't think I was capable of writing a compelling adventure or story that anybody would be interested in. I know for other people, it's just like for a lot of artists, it's just getting noticed. There's a lot of other artists out there. And if you're just throwing things out on Twitter or Instagram, it's like trying to get someone to see your work and appreciate it. So yeah, I don't know for other folks. Yeah, just sometimes it's a language barrier issue too, because a lot of international folks and a lot of it's in English. And so trying to write in English is a challenge, or just trying to do layout. Like you can write a thing, but you don't know how to make it look pretty, like look like a D&D book. Sometimes it's just technical issues. And so that's kind of why I like Ashley's workshop, is that it kind of tackles all those things to kind of help you out no matter what your issue is as kind of that roadblock for you.
It's definitely it's a cool idea. This industry is weird. It's really tough to make a living doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's getting easier, and sometimes it's like easier for people like me who just basically does commentary and makes, we're starting to make more stuff. But like when you're getting started and making stuff and selling enough stuff, and even like for artists, like good art is not cheap. And when you're trying to put together a product and you're like, well, if one piece of art costs $400 and you need several, how many of these do I have to sell to just break even?
Yeah. Nope. 100% understand what you're saying too. And you even find like some of the writers that you think would be like the biggest names in the industry are still not really doing this full time. They still have other gigs to pay the bills. So yeah, it's really tough, but it is possible, and there's easy, there are ways to get noticed and to start making inroads. And so we're trying to kind of help push folks in that direction if that's what they're interested in.
And it's just getting better too, right? Like, there's a lot of companies that don't pay well, but there's also starting to be a lot of companies that are paying much better.
Yeah, I think so too. There's enough conversation about it out there, and companies have their reputations. And so they care about those reputations, and they want to get the good writers and artists. And so I think it's getting better in that regard. I hope so.
Like, I guess for the longest time, like the kind of like the ceiling was Wizards of the Coast would pay like 10 cents a word. And now Colville's paying like 20 cents a word.
Yeah.
So like it is raising. The next step is to get, the actual, the people in the community to value those works more, right? Like which is tough because the thing I hate the most is pay what you want. Like, I think it is the worst thing to ever happen to our hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what other place could you walk into and be like, yeah, that gold ring, I think I'll just take it for free and maybe I'll come back later and get another one and give you some money.
Yeah.
If I feel like it.
And when you have a whole adventure they put a ton of work and effort into, and you charge 50 cents or pay what you will, it just kind of drags it down for everybody else,
Yeah.
because that becomes what's expected. And so, yeah, I agree. Like it's like price things for what you're worth. Your time is worth a lot, it's worth money, and how much effort you put into it. So, yeah.
And
And just,
also, like, the race to the bottom is just terrible.
yeah. And then, yeah, go out there if you find things you like pay for them. Like
Yeah.
buy cool stuff that you can use. Like DM Skillet is a treasure trove. There's so much good stuff out there that you can really, like, if you have that, everybody has that kind of niche of D&D that they really dig, whether it's, like building up your home headquarters or exploring certain alien or certain races that you enjoy or monsters. Like there's things that will dive deeper into that niche that you like go and find those things and build up those things and get those resources.
So, Rivers RPG wants to know, did you approach WizKids or did they come to you for mini reviews?
I know Rivers. Hi, Rivers. So the way that we first got started with that is we invested a lot of money into getting these mini sets ourselves to start with. So we would go and buy cases so we could have all the minis in a set, because we also like to be comprehensive. So when WizKids has a set like Boneyard or Fangs and Talons, like we would just go and buy the whole thing and then show every mini so we would have a comprehensive look at it. And then after a while, the folks at the minisgallery.com, who's been around for a long time and who's kind of does the website version of what we do as videos, they put WizKids in touch with us. They're like, you need to check out these Gallant Goblin folks. And when they did that, WizKids reached out to us and we made that connection.
Yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of like reviewers get started too. Or they those companies will reach out to people that maybe even aren't reviewers and they just have large audiences and be like, hey, show our stuff, we'll pay you.
Yeah, and it just was a gradual thing. I mean, I don't remember how long it took, but I mean, it took us 9 months, 12 months to finally get noticed by anybody. We had the kind folks at Hit Point Press reach out to us when we had like 600 subscribers, I think, to say like, we really like what you do. We want to kind of get in on this. And they became our channel sponsors from that point, and they've been with us ever since. And so like I guess hopefully if you kind of put yourself out there and you're consistent and you get videos out there regularly and they're of a good quality, like eventually you'll get recognized for it. And I think if you're that kind of personality type that's really able to push yourself out there and like introduce yourself to people, and that's not so much me, I think, I know that Fry Minis, the fellow who runs Fry Minis, like is really good at that. And I'm not so good at that. So that's another good quality. If you've got that, like you'll be all right.
It's like most things in life, you just got to ask.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It seems simple, but a lot of people do struggle with that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the worst people will say is no.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's totally true. And that's a hard lesson for me to learn too, because you're afraid of that rejection. But at some point, if you can just be like, well, rejection is just doesn't matter. Nobody's going to remember this in 2 days. Like just keep trying and somebody's going to say yes. You'll be surprised.
When I used to work for a living and not do this full time, my motto was every year I would ask for a raise whether I deserved it or not, because my theory was they were never just going to give it to me. So.
Yeah. Nobody gives you anything in life unless you push for it or ask for it. I mean, that's 100% true. It's just, some of our personality types, we have to work our minds up to that. So if you can do it, go for it.
What would your advice be to someone getting started on YouTube or in any of the things that you're doing right now?
Oof. I mean, find your niche. If you are really interested in something that not everybody else is interested in, that or not everybody is doing right now, like find that thing that you would want to see, that you would like to make, that you can't find a good example of right now. Like that's probably going to help you find a road to success. And then really just be consistent about it. Like once you get started, if you're making blog posts or YouTube videos or TikToks, if you keep that consistency going, you will eventually, one thing, people will notice you, but two, the algorithm will notice you. And you're as much fighting your audience as you are fighting for that algorithm to push you out to other people. And so if you are consistent, the algorithm will recognize that and try to push you out to more people who've never seen you before. So those things will help you too, especially like YouTube, TikTok, and all the other things that are out there right now. It does seem like YouTube is a place where you can actually make a little bit of money. Maybe not from YouTube, Google itself, but from sponsors. Like, I don't know. I think it's a lot harder on TikTok to make money. And I'm not sure about like things like Instagram, but YouTube is a pretty good place to get started, I think.
Yeah. So I guess I heard TikTok does have some kind of monetization attached. I just don't in the US, but I do know like in other countries it doesn't. So
Yeah. I think you have to have this multitudes more views and subscribers on TikTok to get any kind of like good payment than you would on YouTube. Like,
TikTok's
I think
really weird too, right? Like I don't feel like people really like go to creators and look at their page. It's just like whatever comes up on your For You page.
Yeah. It's just kind of how random it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, TikTok is tough, and the algorithm is tough to grok. Like figuring out how that algorithm works, because if you have like one video that doesn't do well, like TikTok won't push your next one out to as many people. And it highly depends on when you make a new video, TikTok throws it to like 10 random people, and how those 10 people react is how well that video is going to do. And so it's a lot of random number generation, which we all love in D&D, I guess. But when it comes to your livelihood, it's a little less fun.
Well, yeah, there's that. But also, like, at least in D&D with number generation, like they tell you the rules, right? So you can play with the numbers and work the numbers, massage the numbers. But when you talk about algorithms, no one's telling you. It's like you might as well throw a dart against the board like it's a mystery.
Yeah, 100%. You don't even know what you can do to make it better. Like I hear so much about TikTokers who are trying everything they can to get noticed and to get more views and more subscribers, and they just can't figure out like, why did this one video do so well? And they try to replicate that and nothing. And it's just, they don't get it. And so TikTok is tough. I love flipping through there. I'll get stuck on there for hours, but I've only made 2 TikToks myself. My first one got several thousand views. I was really happy. My second one got like a couple hundred, and I was like, nah, I'm kind of done.
I'm done. Yeah, we've got a few TikToks, and all of our TikTok videos are just us cutting off like the dumb skits we would do in the beginning and throw them up there. Sometimes I like fast forward, speed them up or slow them down. But I did it for a little bit, and I was like, I don't know what to do over here. I'm just old, and so, but I do like the content over there. And I like to see what people are doing in the hobby. And so it's like occasionally I'll get someone and they'll see that we followed them, because also like follows, like subs is like, it's this currency that a lot of people value, but I don't like. I will like at a drop of a hat hit the button, right? It doesn't really mean as much to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, all right. Or follow. And then they're like kind of freaking out. Oh, No Darky followed me. You should follow them. I'm like, don't follow us here. We don't do anything. So.
Yeah, I was hearing like somebody saying like, if you're on TikTok, like anything that you vaguely enjoy that you watch, like it, because it doesn't cost you anything, and just Well,
because I mean, I say this all the time on here, but we'll get comments and be like, I've been following your YouTube channel for 3 months and I subscribed today. I'm like, okay, like it's like they're very precious with them, and it's not that they don't appreciate the subs and likes and stuff, but also on YouTube, subs mean virtually nothing. Because like YouTube doesn't even push your stuff out because you're subbed. It's just basically what you've been watching. Mm-hmm. So it means even less, but like I'll watch like half a YouTube video and be like, oh, I like this, and hit subscribe, and YouTube may never show me their stuff again anyway.
Oh yeah, I understand that. I do appreciate though, anytime somebody leaves a comment on our video, like I don't know, it means something to. I really dig that. Like I try to go respond to every comment that's left for us. Somebody just the other day said, I really don't know what to say about this set, but I want to give you engagement. So engagement. And I was like, yeah, thank you, I'll take it.
The engagement is valuable, right? That is awesome. I mean, on several for the algorithm for the channel, but also just because someone took the time to like share what their thoughts were or their opinions, because you did a thing, which that is really cool and has meaning, right? Because someone took the time. But like I said, like because like it's kind of weird, like on Twitter, like this came up recently, and also happens fairly often. It's like the only place where people go to me. They're like, "Do you know you're following this terrible person?" I'm like,
Oh yeah.
maybe I don't care. Like, what does that do for them? It doesn't do anything for them. And then someone tried to tell me, yes, it does. It's support. I'm like, support? Try and feed your freaking kids off that. Tell me how supported they are.
Twitter's a minefield. I just go on there and try to be careful, and yeah, it's a tricky one. Twitter is. I like staying on YouTube as much as I can.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, we get some really nice commenters. There's a fellow named BB Shockwave who's an expert on D&D and minis, and he will come on to a lot of our videos and give us so much extra information about the things we're talking about, which I think I love. People will like look at that and go down to the comment section and learn even more. And so there's people who can add that value to you.
Oh yeah, when you get that one person, or there's a few of them, then it's like, why did you not just write an article somewhere? This is like so much content.
Yeah, it's like like we should be paying you for all this. I hope he's not listening right now, but I love it. Like, yeah, there's some amazing folks out there who will tell you that, and there's some folks who will just tell you that when I was sad over the quarantine and lonely, like I would just load your videos up and just like listen to you talk to me, and it made me feel better. And like that kind of is the, it's not going to support my kids kind of feedback, but it kind of helps support my soul a little bit and makes me happy. Like, okay, even at least I'm making somebody happy. So I love those kind of things too.
Well, I mean, people that watch our content, like even if they don't comment, is still super helpful and useful because we do get money from Google Ads revenue, so it's just kind of cool. Like the cool thing about YouTube, the way I view YouTube is like every YouTube video is like a commercial for the things that we do, that pays you instead of paying for it, right? It's like the only kind of advertising YouTube. But I mean, we also get to talk about D&D all the time and other RPGs, so that's amazing.
Yeah, and we get to show off some of the amazing stuff that's out there. Like I don't know, if you like me, like you love talking about the stuff that you enjoy, and so being able to show, like, look at this awesome Starfinder creature that somebody made. Isn't this cool? Like, let's tell some stories about it. I love it. It makes me happy just to be able to do that and actually get a living out of it.
Are you more of an in-person gamer or online gamer? Not 2020 withstanding.
I enjoy both of them. It's been so long since I've really played in person that it's hard for even to remember what it feels like anymore. We're starting to do it just now, but I think I like them both for different reasons. Like, I mean, being able to play in person, there's no replacing that. And like sitting around the table and being able to talk to each other, like people can break off conversations and strategize when it's not their turn, kind of helps keep things going and make things interesting for everybody and keeps everybody engaged a little bit. But at least the online games, I get to play with people I'd never get to play with otherwise. I got to play with you pretty recently, and that's not going to happen because you're in Jersey and I'm down in Texas. So I got to play with you. I got to play with like Nora Ibrahim. I got to play with Satine Phoenix. I got to play with my old friends from Japan. I got to play with my friends who live out in California. And so like the online games are kind of amazing in that sense too, just to be able to play with other people that you don't get a chance to otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, we had these weird concurrences that you could not do. Like, one of the fan games I ran, it was like everyone was in a different country.
Yeah.
And maybe time zone, right? So you can't do that at the table.
And that kind of even brings more like a whole nother perspective into your game too. Like the culture they grew up with and the stories they heard growing up in their different countries, like they could probably bring a whole bunch of lore and stories and ideas to the table you may not get otherwise, which is kind of awesome.
That, and I'm always just like curious about like what other people's gaming scene is like and where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll talk to someone, they'll be like, oh, there's a thriving gaming scene, or oh, there is zero gaming scene. It's whoever I can con into playing games with me.
What I've realized too is that often it just takes one or two or three people to build that scene. Like everybody is there, the seeds are there, but they need that fertilizer to grow. And if you've got like one or two or three people who are committed to building that scene up and to making events and reaching out and showing, like you can build a scene in your community. You'd be surprised if you just kind of somebody has that skill set to be able to do it, which is awesome. Yeah, it does take a lot of work.
You need a talented organizer, and you can get it off the ground for sure.
Yeah.
Untalented organizers can do it too. It's just going to be harder and take more work, but it can be done.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I wish I'd had. See, if I'd had that in my community growing up, I would have gotten into D&D when I was a teenager. But I didn't have anything like that I ever found.
Well, I mean, there's more and more of it. I mean, like in high schools and things. I mean, I think several of the YouTubers, quite a few of the YouTubers that I know and have had on are all educators, right? And so they run like D&D programs.
I mean, I'm a school psychologist by trade, so I've been one of my players is an autism teacher, and so we it was elementary school, so it's a little bit trickier because we went up to fourth grade. But like a lot of my educator friends love to kind of introduce it to their kids and have those D&D groups in the school, which is awesome.
Like Bob the World Builder is an educator. Dungeon Coach is an educator. They're the two that stand out right off the top of my head. But there's probably even more. Nate from Waz D20. I don't know if he still does or not, or if he's just full time doing Waz D20. But the Dungeon Coach was really interesting because he was like a track and field coach, and like he had these games going on with like all of his athletes, right? And like so that was kind of like cool, weird, and interesting to think of these games of all jocks, and they're like vying to try and get into his D&D games.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, this is a paradigm shift from when I was growing up.
I mean, I think I first realized that paradigm shift had happened when I was on Facebook and I saw the old, like very popular girls from my high school, like who, had no interest in anything geeky, were talking about Tyrion Lannister and Cersei Lannister, you know, like books that I never thought they would have ever read, and suddenly they're talking about Game of Thrones, and
they probably didn't read the books though. But it's just about storytelling, right?
No, but they were interested. Yeah.
It's all about good stories and good storytelling, right? Like it's not the sci-fi or fantasy elements of a show or movie that, while we as nerds and geeks really connect with that and like that stuff, but if the story was shitty and the inter-character dynamics weren't good, like it wouldn't hook us in.
Yeah, like good. I think people are a bit more open now to hearing good stories that are maybe in genres that they wouldn't normally engage with. So yeah, it seems like it's a little bit more open-minded than it was 15, 20 years ago, maybe. I'm not sure.
Shalander says Bill Allen. Yes, Bill Allen as well. Is also another educator. So, I mean, so there's a bunch of them. There's probably so many more that I'm not even thinking of. But which is cool because a lot of them run, D&D games in those schools where like there was no D&D clubs when I went to school for sure.
No, I mean, yeah, like, man, you hear the stories about 70s and early 80s, like, yeah, that would not have been tolerated, especially a D&D club.
Yeah. I mean, you had the Satanic Panic going on, and like it was really like a hobby of outcasts, kind of.
Yeah.
But now I guess the good thing is like it went from a hobby of outcasts, and it was like outcasts, and like then like the theater kids kind of got absorbed into it, right? And I think that's what really did the most good for the hobby is those theater kids, because some of them went to go on and have professions, in and around, TV, radio, film. And, so they became like the cool people, right? Yeah. And then like they're all coming out now as, gamers and playing D&D and, and making it more popular and mainstream.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you see D&D too. Like D&D and Wizards of the Coast is really pushing those celebrities.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, especially the past couple of years, like everything's like
Jack Black, right? Is going to be in an upcoming game.
Yeah, I think so. And then you see like Matt Mercer playing with Stephen Colbert and all these things. And yeah, it's just that celebrity endorsement that's making it cool again with Joe Manganiello and everybody.
Yeah. And then also like some of those people that maybe aren't on screen personalities, they're still like writing, right? They're writing, they're behind the scenes, and it's being written into the culture is being written into the pop culture stuff. So we've won.
I think we have. Like we always said that nerds are going to take over the world, and it seems like we're there. And it's great. Like I don't think there's much of a stigma to it anymore. Like when I was teaching at my elementary school, I would have people come up to me, like just the school secretary came up to me once, and she said like, "I know D&D. I saw them play it on what is that show called?
Stranger Things,
Not even Stranger
Big
Things.
Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them play. I want to try that, and so like, sure, yeah, come on in. Like, there's no fear anymore, I guess.
I know. Like my son is kind of like a casual gamer, and we had done a thing, and Matt Mercer was involved, so he was there, and he got to like just meet him and shake his hand or whatever. He's like, and he's not really a Critical Role fan, but he's like, oh, I should have got a picture because he just wanted the bragging rights with his friends.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, I still get a little bit starstruck when I get to meet some of these folks.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get over that. Like, it's cool. Like, I met Joe Manganiello at D&D Live a couple of years ago, and I was like, my heart was like, boom, 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 boom. He's also enormous. It's like, oh, he could crush me if he wanted to.
Giant of a man. Well, that's the weird thing about also like seeing people like on screens and TV, even like just other creators and stuff that I meet on here, and then you meet them in person, and they're like, and I'm like, oh, I'm so short.
I guess that's true. Yeah, especially if you're good next to Joe.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun though. That was one of the best things I had done in the last 5 years was go to D&D Live out in LA, like 2019, whenever that last one was. I think they were just launching a Descent into Avernus. And I got to meet so many cool people and all the cosplayers and the writers, and it was amazing. I love that. That was my first D&D experience, really, with other people.
I mean, that's what I love about going to live events is just meeting and hanging out with all of my friends from the internet, essentially. Like, I rarely do con things when I go to the cons. I'm either networking for Nerdarchy or just catching up with the people that I only really talk to online.
I haven't been to a con since we've actually, like, we're a little bit known now. We're like the micro influencer, in my opinion, but like, we've gotten to do projects with Satine and folks, and so we're our face is out there a little bit. And I haven't been to a con since any of that happened, and I'm really curious to see, like, go back and like actually get to interact with folks in real life and meet and have a drink and stuff like that. Like, I haven't gotten to do that yet, and I really want to. Yeah,
so like we were talking before we got rolling here, and like I thought PAX Unplugged was going to be the first convention I go to, just because like it's local for us and it's a fun convention. It just made a lot of sense. And now me and my wife are like planning to drive out to Gen Con and check that scene out and see how it is. I'm like, we're all vaxxed in our house, so I'm like, I don't know. I feel okay with it, and I'm just tired of being cooped up, and I just want to do something.
Yeah, we were talking beforehand that it's at the beginning it seemed like everybody was like, Gen Con is kind of cancel, and it looked like it was going to die. But at least in the last month, it feels like everybody's kind of changed their mind and like, let's do this. Let's make this the first big event. Let's just go for it and get back to it. And so there's a lot of peer pressure to go to Gen Con, I feel like, right now. I've had a lot of questions about Gen Con, so we're still thinking about it.
Well, I know a lot of my friends aren't going, so.
Oh, they aren't?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. Everyone can do them. So.
Yeah, and they're still doing some online. It's going to be a hybrid convention. So hopefully folks who want to participate will be able to still do a lot of the stuff. But I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It'd be fun just to meet folks.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what things will look like going forward. Like if there's going to be a really strong virtual presence, but it's just not the same. It's like gaming online is fun and I like it, but it still isn't the same as like sitting around the table with your buddies. So
I was talking. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, just live events in general, just have a vibe to them.
And I haven't gotten to do it enough. Like I'd really like. It would be a new thing for me in a lot of ways. I was talking to Brian Walters at Hit Point Press, who did a lot of their convention planning, was talking about getting back to that and the hybrid experience of it all and how it's going to be different this time around. And so I'm kind of curious about that too. Just, is it going to feel like the old Gen Con or is it going to be different this time? Or I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking as well. That's what I'm wondering. Like, and part of me too is like, kind of like been dragging my feet about finding a room. So I'm like, if I wait long enough, will the prices go down? Like where they're like, oh, we're not selling rooms. Please, someone come stay here.
Right. And I don't know. Not to get like into anything sad, but like I still watch like the stories about the Delta variant. And it's like, is it going to start getting bad again by the fall, and the weather cools down? Like, they're starting to say like, oh, wear masks again. You got to be a little bit more careful. Like 60% effective out of Israel for the people who've been vaccinated with Pfizer. And I'm like, is it slipping? Is it slipping? So it's making me a little bit nervous about some of these things too. Like, yeah, are they going to start kind of restricting us again a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. You're fine. You're in Texas. They won't restrict you.
Not here. No, they didn't. They never restrict anything here. But like, I guess it's Indiana too.
They might try and kill you with the power grid, but
oh god. If I disappear during this, it's because
or the wild boars might get you.
Oh, we need somebody to take care of those. If only there was somebody to take care of those wild boars.
It's so weird. Like my son was telling me, and I was telling you beforehand that they were planning a trip out to Texas for a bachelor party because they wanted to ride around in helicopters and hunt wild boars. And it was so weird. And like my son really isn't into it per se, but his friends are kind of crazy and he's just like going along with it. And he's like, I guess I'll do that. Like, he was an Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts and he would do all the shooting stuff as well. Also, he was actually a pretty good shot. So I was like, I better watch myself.
if he ever rents a helicopter, you better look out. But I love what they decided to do instead of that. You were saying that they took a left turn.
They're probably going to go to Disney World instead because the one kid's parents has a timeshare and they're like, oh, we can save a lot of money and still have fun.
It probably costs the same as a helicopter ride at this point. So
yeah. Well, probably, just the helicopter ride. Not going to place to say. So thank you for the super chat, Fry Minis. He wants you to show the cat.
I don't have a cat nearby. I'd have to run away from the stream and grab a cat.
He's catless. Also, Fry Minis has asked if we ordered the gargantuan Tiamat. Did you order a gargantuan Tiamat?
I had a cat delivery here.
Oh, boom.
This is our new cat who's not very used to being held yet.
He doesn't understand that the internet is for cats yet.
No, but thank you, Grady, for bringing me a cat. I haven't ordered it. Like WizKids does send us pretty much every D&D product that they make.
Yeah.
So I anticipate that we will get the bigger than gargantuan Tiamat figure when it's released or shortly beforehand. I will say a lot of these figures shipping is a challenge right now, and so a lot of the release dates of these figures are very precarious. So don't be surprised if some of these things slip.
We get a lot of the stuff too, and Ted will write articles about them. We don't really do anything with video on them. I don't know. Maybe we'll start shooting TikToks of the stuff they send us and put it up over there.
We don't need any more competitors, so it's completely fine if you want to stay in your lane over there. Like I'm okay with that.
But I just don't want Ted's heart to break if they stop sending him minis.
No, I understand that. Yeah, and there's a little bit of changing of leadership going on, or not leadership, but some of the marketing stuff over at WizKids. So now's the time to be good to your WizKids friends. Yes. This is Fiddle, by the way, who was the 18-year-old cancer survivor, and he's our baby. So this is the one I was telling you about a little earlier that Grady kindly delivered to me just now.
He's just kind of looking around like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this again?
Yeah, he's just ready for me to stop getting to YouTube points by showing him off. But
he's not impressed. Cats like to do everything on their time, not yours.
Is true. Fiddle, though, is the chillest cat I've ever owned. Like, if you put him somewhere and just like, hey, sit here for a little, he'll just settle down and make himself comfortable. Like, he'll just let you hold him, let you do whatever you want. He's super chill. So I'll sit here and pet him and not pour him out for internet points.
Nice. So how are your home games going?
You tell me what you think about this, but maybe this is kind of coming from somebody who's a little bit new to the YouTube game, but I am finding it really hard to do anything that's not content. My home game, my only real home game right now is a Humblewood campaign that I've been running on Zoom, and I've been having the hardest time getting myself to sit down and do the work to DM it and to run it, just because like this is not content for the channel, so I can't justify spending time on it. And I know it's bad, it's really bad, but I struggle with that. But we're playing tomorrow. No, today. We're playing today. So that's what I'm doing after this. So I'm trying to get back to it.
I want to say like 4 or 5 years in, we made a conscious decision to stop turning everything into content. So what we were doing at the time was we were just recording our home game, and like, I mean, we basically got our group and like, hey, you mind if we film this and put this on our YouTube channel? And they're okay with it, but like we kind of like basically enlisted them and commandeered them and they drafted them into it, and then after doing it for a while, we're like that campaign was ending, and Ted had become like a Critical Role fan since then, and he was like super excited about the content they were putting out and how they did like their opening trailer. And he's like, we could do something like that. I'm like, Ted, we would do something like that, and it would look really. We could probably do it and make it look really cool. But then the actual gameplay that we record right now is shit. So why would you put that in front of shit? So it's like we either need to step up everything and really rethink how we do things, which I mean, which we considered, or there's other people doing really good, and we can just go back to playing D&D with our friends, and that's kind of what we did. So now we do have some stuff that we stream, but most of the games we play in aren't streamed. Like we have a weekly game night, I want to say, because like basically 3 Saturdays out of the month, we play a home game, which just went back in person. So like we just cycle through all 3 of them. Everyone's all vaxxed up. So we started doing that, and it's just for fun, and we just do that. And then like I have a Saturday morning game that I play that's not streamed, and then we have a couple games that we're either in or that we stream on the channel.
It comes with maturity and confidence, I think, that I'm still building myself up to. We're also turning our game room into a studio. Like we are installing a grid overhead that we can hang lights and microphones from, and we're gonna start trying to do more actual play stuff, because we have all these awesome minis. Like I've got this is just orcs. This is just my bag of orcs. I don't know if everybody has a bag of orcs sitting around, but I have a bag of orcs, and we have all the nice terrain and everything. And so we're like, and we have people who do want to play some of these games, so we're going to sit down and try to run some actual play games and try to film them up nicely. Grady's very good at editing and special effects, so we're going to try to make them look nice, and we're going to give it a go. And I still enjoy, even when we're playing for content, I still enjoy it. It's still a lot of fun for me. And so we're going to sit down for Steamforged Games. We're going to do an Animal Adventures little live play that they're going to be able to use for their Kickstarter. So we're going to give that a go. Like we haven't done much actual play content. I did one little show for the Battle of the Bards book for Satine Phoenix on the Goading Light Network. That was my first actual play experience online. And we really enjoyed that. It made a lot of memories and had a lot of fun. I got to play with people like Xander Jean and Bonnie Gordon, which was tremendous to be able to play with talent like that, and Satine. So I don't know. We're going to try it. We're going to see how it goes. But I know we need to just like have some of this hobby that's just for us. That we can just enjoy at home.
I recommend everyone keeps at least one home game where it's just like, let your hair down and just kind of relax and do it. And then also too, like, well, I like playing in stream games. I just don't think it's like a great business model, right? Because it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking about doing editing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also like the amount of attention you're fighting for with a stream game opposed to like any other kind of content. And it's like, that's a 2 to 4 hour block, right? And there's a lot of people doing it and doing it well. So it's getting very competitive, I feel like. And there's only so many streams that people can consume.
No, yeah, that's totally true. And that's why
not to dissuade you from doing it or anything like that. It's like
we're just dipping our toe in it. So what I was thinking is like, we'll try to do like a high quality thing, but we'll probably get everybody in the room and film like a good 5-6 hours and then break it up into hour chunks and release like 1 hour a week that would be manageable. And just kind of see it. We're just going to do short little one-shot campaigns. We're not going to start like, let's do Kingmaker was my initial idea for Pathfinder. And it's like that. And I've talked to some of the folks at Pathfinder, like, start with something small.
Actually, that might be a good idea, because like pretty much every streamer will tell you like there's always drop off from the first episode to the second to the third, right? So you're always losing attention.
So if every episode is your first episode,
if every episode is your first episode, that actually might be a thing that works out well. Because people don't feel like they have to go back and watch everything.
Yeah, I think for us, like, probably things are gonna be like 4 or 5 episodes max.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to feel like that's why I don't go back and watch a lot of TV shows. Like my friends say, like, oh, you should watch Person of Interest. And I'm like, there's like 150 episodes of Person of Interest. I will never watch that. But like, oh, go watch WandaVision. It's like 8 episodes. So like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're short.
8.5 hours. Yeah. So keep it manageable. Nobody has time for anything anymore.
That's why they always reboot comics, right? Because they're like, oh, if I got to tell someone to start reading this comic and there's 400 issues, like people are not looking at it like, I'm not doing this.
That's why I didn't get into Pathfinder First Edition. There were like 1,000 source books for Pathfinder First Edition. It's like, no, I can't. Like the lore books and there's 1,000 classes and races. So I kind of started getting into it with Pathfinder Second Edition, and they're starting to get a little out of hand for Second Edition now with all the books. But
it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, but at least I got in it on the beginning, so I can kind of keep track. But now, yeah, sometimes having that fresh start is good.
Are you usually a player or a GM?
I've probably been a player for less than 8 or 9 times in my life. Like, I am always a GM, it seems like. So when I got to play with you guys, when we played Vast Grimm, like that was one of the only times this year that I've gotten to be a player.
Oh, so no.
It's super rare. So that's why I was like, I'm going all in on this game because I don't get to do this very often.
Now, is that by design or is that just how it works out?
That's just how it works out. Yeah. I don't know a lot of just finding time to be a player in a game too and setting that time aside every week. Because a lot of the people who are running, like, we're running 3 hours a week. I'm like, oh, it's kind of hard to find that time to devote to that. So yeah, it's just tricky.
It is, like, that is one of the issues with this hobby is like as you get older and have more responsibilities accrue, it's like, and you're looking to like try and balance things. It's like, well, I do have this 4-hour gaming session I do every week, and that I could cut out and free up a lot of times, or I can get rid of these 4 or 5 things that take up the same amount of time.
Right.
When your life begins vying for attention, it can be tough.
I think I was also nervous being a player sometimes
because
I get into it and I get like, oh, there's stakes. I could get hurt. I could get killed. And I think in some ways, like, it's a little bit like my heart races when I'm playing sometimes. And so it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through this roller coaster today.
Yeah, I guess as a DM or GM, all your characters are disposable, essentially.
Yeah. For me, it's far less stress to be the game master than to be a player.
Interesting. I never really thought about that way, but I also don't really care that much if my characters die. I'll just make a new one.
I've mostly played this little one shots, and so my character was completely disposable, so it was completely fine. But I think if I got into a campaign and I'd had the same character for 6 months, like, I don't know if I could even show up anymore.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, your character almost died in the Vast Grimm game.
I'm surprised he didn't.
Yeah,
I always thought he would be either the first or the last to die.
Yeah, but both of you guys that I was like, are they infected or not? Should we just space them to be safe?
Probably should have.
Like, I was trying to figure out, like, what is the vibe of that world. So for anyone that doesn't know, Vast Grimm is a game created by Brian Colin, Creature Curators, and what is the dice game company?
Infinite Black, Elder Dice,
Infinite Black.
Merc Wars.
Yeah, they're putting out a science fiction horror game based off of the Mork rule system.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun to play.
And I can say, if you'd like to learn more, we're going to have a whole Vast Grimm video on the Gallant Goblin YouTube channel next week. And
cool.
I'm going to dress up. I'm going to have some cool lighting effects, and we're going to talk all about Vast Grimm and have some fun with it. So we'll have that next week.
He sent me the promo stuff, the art, poster. I was like, this is so cool. Why do you have a Sharktacon on the cover? And he's like, it does look like a Sharktacon.
The art is crazy. The vibe is crazy. Like, if you just want something where your character is very likely going to die and it doesn't matter, and just bring in another one, and it's rules light that anybody can sit down and play. Like, you don't have to sit there and read a whole rule book. Like, all the rules fit on like 3 pages. You have a ton of fun with it. It's a lot of fun. I
know I did. And that was the first time we kind of met in virtual person and got to play together. So that was super cool.
I loved it. That was some of the most fun I've had in a long time. I love that night. I
Yeah.
was in a hotel room off in Thomasville, Georgia, where my mom lives, and just curled up under my blanket playing that game. It was so much fun.
So what's coming up next for the Gallant Goblin?
We're getting those actual plays started next month. There's been it feels like the shipping. Sorry, Fiddle's over here now complaining at me because I'm not feeding him. I feel like a lot of the shipping issues that we've had from the
Yeah.
lack of shipping containers out of China is starting to lift in some ways. And so we're getting a ton of things in to review. So we've released almost a video a day for the last week, which is probably going to kill us. We have another one going up today for the Tree Raiser. If you've ever heard of Tree Raiser from Pathfinder, which is like their big bad kind of Tarrasque creature.
Okay.
This dinosaur dragon with this black axe, bloody axe mini that came out. So we just have a ton of mini reviews. We're going to look at Vast Grim. We're going to look at Animal Adventures from Steamforged Games, which two games could not be more different from each other. One, you're playing these murderous, barely surviving, infected, terrible sort of people lost in space. And the other one, you're playing your friendly kitty cat and dog, your husky barbarian or whatever. And yeah, and that's kind of what we're doing. I don't know. We're just kind of trucking on, doing that kind of thing, and starting our actual plays, which I hope will be somewhat successful since they're all going to be episode ones.
Who does the art for your store?
Oh, so a lot of our art is done by a company called Penji, and Penji is a kind of artist subscription service, and you pay a certain monthly fee, and you have as many art projects as you can do. Like we pay to have like 3 projects going at once, and they connect you with artists around the world, whoever is best for the project that you want to do. So they do custom illustrations, but they also do like setting up websites, making business cards, making brochures, card decks, like pretty much anything you need. They even started getting into animation. And so it's been amazing for us. Like we've been able to get art for a lot of our RPG projects, to put like our little plushies that we're going to make a Kickstarter for pretty soon. Like the original art came from Penji, and then we've kind of commissioned the plushies otherwise. So we do.
Are those on your? Are they on your store yet?
No, we are going to kickstart this plushie thing probably later this year. We have, I think, 6 or 8 different designs that we're going to do. This is our red kobold sorcerer with the little wand and the flame here. We have like a little blue paladin. I think our orange ranger. We have some really cute ones. So this is the first prototype we've gotten. I love it. It's so great. So we're going to do a little Kickstarter for this later this year. It's our first Kickstarter. We're going to see how that goes. I'm really nervous about that. So yeah, so for Penji, Grady, if he's paying attention to this, he can maybe in the chat throw down. We have a referral code if you're interested in that I think will get both of us a little discount. So he can throw that down in there if he's watching.
Nice.
But I do recommend Penji a lot. Like we've gotten some amazing stuff through Penji.
I might check that out.
Yeah, if you need art and consistently, you need a lot of art, like that is the way to go, because art is expensive. Like we have this is our Grady's book that he wrote, The Great Immersive Asphodel. Now, this is not art we got through Penji. We have, oh gosh, I want to make sure I get his name right. So let me get to the credits in here. But this is an artist that we've also worked with a lot lately, Victor Tan, that we found. We actually found him through Reddit, and he has an Instagram, but he does some amazing art. This is kind of based on the original Mythic Odysseys of Theros book cover art, where you had the big Hydra coming up, and this is after the Hydra has been killed, and we're harvesting things from him that we can use as magical items. So this is kind of a sequel image to that, so to speak. And Victor's amazing too. If you're looking for a good artist for cover work, like he's super awesome. I got him to do the cover of my little book, I Am Your World, which is you're in an Illithid spaceship, basically a Neogi spaceship with an Illithid in charge, and he does this amazing like Illithid on the cover of this. You can see the tutorial world behind him out of the spaceship window, and it's gorgeous. So Victor Tan's also really cool.
That is cool. Yeah, you got, like I said, you got a lot of cool merch over there as well. I was just looking and stuff. I'm like,
Thank you.
oh, my wife would love that. And I like the cat and axe dragon over.
Yes, we have. That's one of my favorites too. The turns out, and people who do have a lot of minis and cats will probably relate to this.
Yeah.
Like even when you have the mighty evil dragon 5-headed goddess mini, it can still be defeated by your cat deciding that it does not belong on the table and swiping it off.
It's
Nothing
true.
can stop your cat.
Cats are unstoppable.
That's one of my favorites too. I love our little kobolds. We're making kobold designs for like every class in D&D, Pathfinder, and Starfinder.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was about to comment on. I was like, you've kobolded all the things. There's more kobolds than goblins.
Oh yeah. We've kind of gotten into the kobold game. I don't regret the name of our company, and I like our little goblin logo here, which I'm standing up straight, getting into the box there. But we love our kobolds. We're gonna do some little kobold adventures too. We're probably gonna do like a little kobold children's book kind of thing that we've started putting together too. That I think will be fun. So
that rainbow dragon is awesome.
Oh yeah, we got that for Pride. We have all our little kobold kind of baby designs we put together as one Pride shirt. They're kind of standing in a line that I really like with like these kind of kobolds, and then we have like our just cool rainbow dragon.
Yeah,
that we dug for this year.
Did you turn that into a monster? Like, have you statted it?
No, but I think we probably will. I think that's on Grady's to-do list. Is that something he wants to do?
Although I will tell you, if you stat it, they will kill it.
We can just bring it back.
That's true.
You just come back the next day. That's the way it works. I love some of our Starfinder. We haven't posted them all yet, but we have some really cool Starfinder kobolds that I really like. I like our. I don't know if you played Starfinder much, but I like our Kobold Envoy.
I've played one campaign of it.
Oh yeah.
And then we did a one shot, a Skidamander one shot.
Yeah, they have one or two of those that they kind of released for a free RPG day or something.
Yeah,
I want to play.
One of the designers or writers had kind of ran it for us, so it was a lot of fun. I was a little disappointed because like they tried too hard to not kill us, and like we kept failing at everything at the very end, and we should have all been sucked into the vacuum of space and exploded.
He was just being a little too nice.
Yeah, at the end, I feel like he should have just been like, "You guys suck so bad." And the last thing you hear is whoosh before you get sucked out into the void of space.
I guess it's a little hard to kill something as cute as a kobold. I feel like Brian Collins was not going to hesitate to kill us in the Vast Grim game, though.
No, I felt like I was getting close a couple times. My dice rolls were so terrible.
I think if we had an episode 2 of that, at least my character wasn't going to make it out of that one. Y'all were going to space me probably between sessions.
Yeah, that was kind of my plan. Also, like Brian's like, here's this character. He's kind of a shitty, terrible person. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, if I even think someone's got the space worms, they gots to go.
Oh, he also gave us all backup characters just in case.
Yeah.
So when the DM gives you like, here's your main character and here's your one to do when your main character dies, you know you're in for a ride.
Yeah. Something might go wrong there. So we're just past the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
Oh my gosh, it's been so much fun to get to talk to you a little bit more and just have a nice chat. Thank you so much for having me on. And it's just a ton of fun. So thank you.
Thank you for coming on, Theo. It's been a blast. As always, folks, remember, links are in the description. Go click away and stalk Theo across the interwebs in the good way. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Bye.